I thought the worst thing that could happen was finding my partner wrapped around someone else in our bed, and for one crushing moment I was sure that was the deepest cut life could deal. I was wrong. That betrayal was only the outer seam of a snare built to delete me completely. Before we go on, this is still a tiny channel, and I could really use your backing. Please like the video and hit subscribe. It costs nothing and helps more than you know. My name is Mara Lindqvist. 5 years ago, I took the head of Lindqvist Agritech, the company my father started on a borrowed tractor and built into a statewide name. When he passed, the stock came to me with no strings. I was not carrying it alone. I had married Theo Calder, a man with a quiet grin and a gift for the tiny details, the birthdays, the Saturday breads, the names of far-off uncles. To everyone else, we were a perfect match, welcome at every gala from the hills to the shore. We lived in a wide pine estate in Brindle Creek, land my father's will gave me before the wedding, with a long maple drive and an east balcony where Theo liked to read the market pages at sunrise. Behind the windows and the lawn parties, our helpers turned over faster than the field crew. In one hot summer, 3 cleaners left within days, each whispering of guests after midnight they were told never to note. A groundskeeper named Pell stopped me by the root cellar and said a dark-haired man had come through the side gate after 1, at least 6 times, always with a flat wax envelope he held like evidence. I smiled and gave Pell a reference letter, but she pressed a torn ferry ticket from a lake dock into my hand and breathed, "If he comes back, call this." I dropped the scrap in a box and forgot it. On the surface we had it all, and a pact Theo signed without fuss that gave him a set allowance and no more. But paper fades, and I later found he had asked our clerk about breaking that pact just 4 months after the wedding, hiding it as a routine check of joint goods while I was at a meeting in Tanner. The clerk also said Theo requested a separate value check on the Brindle Creek deed and the Lindqvist shares in my trust, then went quiet when I asked. He finally said Theo paid him off the books to make the note disappear. 8 nights later, the gate reader showed a wiped entry at 1:47 a.m., the same night Pell named the guest, and Theo told me at breakfast the reader had failed from the damp. I saw him that night burn a printed reader log in the den fireplace, calling it Old Bill's, yet the ash smelled of fresh ink. The fall came on a Wednesday. I was meant to be in Port Soren for a board meet, but the chair rang at 11:10 a.m. to cancel when the river rose and the coastal road shut. They told all travelling members to head home before the water climbed. I felt glad. I texted Theo, stuck in Port Soren back Friday, as we did, then took my coat when the call dropped. I drove through rain, passing a small mead hall in town where the owner nodded from the step. I bought a jug of 2003 mead, Theo's taste, and a tin of the brown sweets he kept by his books. I thought, I will surprise him, say the meat fell through so we might have a calm night. Maybe watch the storm from the balcony while he read as he used to. The cellar said the roads would jam by 2. I checked the clock, it was 1:20, time to reach before dark. I tossed the slip in the glove box where later cash hid, not knowing Theo had messaged Nora 11 minutes before. She is not coming, go. I came in the side gate, the one Theo always locked when we left, but had left open that morning. The house was still, yet a soft song came from upstairs, our first dance tune, at a volume he kept for parties, never alone. He had said it cheapened the memory, if played by himself. A tug of old warmth mixed with warning. I set the mead on the kitchen stone and saw a second glass already rinsed and set on the rack, its rim faintly marked with a shade I did not wear. By it lay a stud I had not seen, its edge scraped as if forced. I went to the stairs, light on the wood, but stopped at the 3rd step when a drawer clicked shut above and a light male laugh came. I wanted to reach him, yet a chill of doubt closed my throat as I climbed, and I pulled my phone from my coat to record, a trick from deal rooms I had never used at home. At the room door, ajar. A draft made it creak. I pushed. The sight broke the floor under me. Theo was there on our bed, tangled in sheets with a man I had never met, his arm across Theo's chest like a claim. He was dark-haired, thin-faced, wearing a silver pin I knew from my own case, the one I had locked in the upper safe a week prior. We froze, and I saw Theo's eyes go to the side table where a small unit blinked red. The dark-haired man's look fell to the safe behind me, then to Theo, a silent trade. He moved and the sheet slipped, showing a mark of linked letters, T and N, on his arm that Theo had once said was ink he made for a brother in the guard. The room spun. The mead jug left my hand and broke, the gold spreading like a wound on the light rug, and the man hid a smile with a ring hand that matched Theo's missing band. I stepped back, my shoe crushing a dropped clip that matched the pin, and saw the safe had been opened with a key only I should hold, the spare from a hidden slot gone, its thin blade cut. Theo's foot slid toward the blinking unit as if to hide it, and he said, "That light is a charger," though it kept blinking. The man kicked a tan file partly under the bed, its edge open enough for me to see a copy of my trust's sign page before I turned. Theo rose, tripping. "Mara, please! This is not what it looks." But it was exactly that. I did not yell. I did not cry. I turned and walked. I heard him call as I went down, but I did not stop. I drove, the rain thick on the glass. I had no plan. I needed air. I stopped at a lodge in Crest Hollow after 2 wrong turns with my phone off, fearing Theo might track the car. I sat on the bed's edge, staring at the wall, and ordered tea under a false name, paying with the bill I kept sewn in my coat. When the weeping came, it would not stop, but the knock with the tray made me bolt the door and shove the chair to it. I cried for hours. Then a change came as I noticed a fresh line on my hand where the man's clip had scratched. The sting hardened into cold rage. I thought, that man was no stranger. He knew the drawer of the pin and poured Theo's drink without ask, as if he belonged. And the pin, I had worn it to a dinner a month back, then put it in the safe. Theo said he never opened. He took it there, not my closet. This was no sudden slip. This was planned with our codes, and I saw Theo had copied my key during our trip to Stone Bay in July when he lost his phone and borrowed my ring to open the cabin box. I played the stair record. The laugh was followed by Theo saying, "She believed the Stone Bay tale, just as Pell said she would." I erased the cloud copy, but kept the words by heart. The scratch pulsed with the lodge heater, and I knew I could not return as the wife they expected. Then I remembered the dented back on the blue wagon near the gate when I left. I have an odd habit of noting plates. I wrote it. It was the only thread I had. The next day I left the Crest Hollow Lodge with cash and drove to a roadside diner where I bought a plain phone with the last bills in my glove box. I called Bram Hoke from it. Bram was a college friend, a former state analyst who now ran a probe office in a brick place in Hartwell. I told him all: the box, the blink, the wagon plate, the cut blade. He did not blink. He asked for the plate and the day Pell left, then said, "Theo has touched your trust through the reader account. I have seen this shape before. Give me a day and use no true name at any desk." I ended the call and watched the lot for blue cars until my drink cooled. 22 hours later, Bram rang. His voice was tight. "Mara, who is the man?" I said I knew him not, only he wore my pin and a band. "His name is Nora Pike," he said. "He is 32, lives in a block in Newford, and lists as a consultant for an empty firm in Delmar. But I found more. 9 years past, he wed a person named Theo Calder in a border town. The union was never ended. Your husband is not your husband. He remains theirs." Bram paused, then said, "The border license shows his old address as a box in Reno, and the witness is the same clerk who reviewed your pact and took Theo's paid silence." I pulled Nora's accounts. He got 2 cents of 40,000 from a Linkavist Agritech reader account Theo commands, dated the day after Pell left and the day he burned the log. They have funded the play for over a year. I also ran the plate you wrote. The blue wagon is registered to that Del Mar empty. Nora parked it knowing your drive cam was off for fix Monday, per the reader's own ticket. And Theo booked a funeral meet in Verdun, under your name last Tuesday, payable on delivery, using the same Hartwell firm from the file. He listed your likely death by accident as the trigger. I held the lodge phone until my hand paled. He used company funds to wed him and frame me. Bram said, he used your company's funds, Mara. The reader account opened 2 months before your wedding with forged notes. The funeral call means they will not wait for the cabin. They move when you are called unstable or gone. I am sending the license scan and the send slips now. Print them at the diner counter before they clear the server, and do not sign in from the lodge net. I felt the space turn, but Bram continued. I opened a box under Nora's name. There is a policy on you for 2 million with Theo as the gainer. The policy began 8 months past. There is also a forged goodbye in your hand and a report from a doctor claiming you were deeply unwell. The report is from 2 weeks past. Mara, you never met that doctor. They are building your end. My breath caught. For what? I said. Ending, Bram said. They mean to stage your leaving. Likely during the weekend at the cabin in Verdun, Theo has mentioned. Then the shape closed. The staged embrace, the break they sought to spark. They were not mere spite. They were measure. The room scene was no error. It was an act to unbalance me, to push me toward a final step. And the car I saw was no chance. Nora was meant to be there, playing the other, while Theo played the sorry spouse. They wanted me to find them. They wanted me to fall. At that breath, my tears dried. The hurt became a cold, counted resolve. They had taken my trust and bent it into a blade. I chose to bend their blade back. I called Bram from the plane phone and set the design. I will go to the cabin this weekend, wire it with watch and have wardens near. I will signal when they speak. Bram built it, with a hidden lens in the hearth and an ear in the lamp. I also took a order to freeze the reader account Theo held, but said nothing. I drove home the next dawn looking broken. Theo held me, whispering regret. I wept on his shoulder, yet counted inside. Let us go to Verdun this weekend, he offered, voice false with care. Just us to mend. I nodded. I asked to stop at the house first for a few things. While he washed, I took the cut spare from the slot and left a copy I had made. I also took the tan file with the trust page from the floor, which he had left, thinking me too shattered to see. At the cabin, Nora was already there, named a friend from Newford. I played the frail wife, excusing myself to rest. Theo brought me a cup. I thanked him, waited, then poured it in the sink after a taste. Bitter almonds. That night they thought me sunk on the sofa, dosed. I heard them whisper of the letter, the lake, the morn. I sent Bram. Now. Theo and Nora entered with a typed sheet, my supposed farewell. Theo took my hand to press my mark. Then I opened my eyes. Did you think I would trust aught you gave? I said, rising. I lifted my phone, still recording. The wardens have heard the last hour. All you said of the water plan is here. The door broke as state wardens entered. They found the letter, the forged records, the policy. They found the messages between Theo and Nora proving the plot. At trial, the spoken record was used. Theo and Nora were judged of conspiracy to end life for gain. They were sent away for life. I sold Linkvist Agritech to a rival for a fair sum. I founded the Pell Root Fund to aid household workers reveal wrong without fear. I gave the cabin to a refuge for women. For the first time in years, I slept with no lock on my door, but I keep a plain phone in my glove box. Pell was right from the first. Sometimes the truth is not just worse than the lie, it is the only edge you need to live. If you found this story worth your time, please like and subscribe before the next chapter drops. The morning after the verdict, I walked the empty halls of the Brindle Creek estate alone, the maple outside dropping its late leaves across the drive where Nora's blue wagon had once idled. I stood in the kitchen where the second glass had rested and felt no echo of the woman who had smiled at Pell's warning. The safe on the upper floor stood open, its cut blade gone, replaced by a seal from the court. I took the jug of 2003 mead from the stone where I had left it months before, untouched, and poured it into the sink, watching the gold vanish as the false comfort had. Theo's market pages still lay on the east balcony, soaked by rain, and I let them stay. The clerk who took the paid silence had been summoned by Bram's contact and admitted the forged notes under oath. His own freedom now rests on that admission. The Hartwell firm that drafted the funeral meat closed its doors when the Sens surfaced, and the Delmar empty firm was dissolved by order of a judge who read the wire slips I printed at the diner counter. Nora's Newford block was searched, and within a locked drawer they found the original of the forged goodbye, penned by his hand in a style meant to mirror my own sloping script, along with a diary, noting each night he entered by the side gate and the sums Theo sent to keep the act funded. The diary spoke of the Stone Bay key and Pell's stub, as if those were trophies. I read the pages once, then gave them to the wardens without a second look. In the weeks that followed, I met with the 3 cleaners who had quit, not only Pell, but the others who had stayed silent for fear of suit. Each received a letter from the Pell Root Fund, and 2 chose to speak to a reporter who printed the pattern of nighttime guests across 3 estates tied to Theo's old associates. The article did not name me beyond a closed caption, but the ripple reached a senator who opened an inquiry into shell firms using reader accounts to mask Sens. Bram Hoke sent me a single line when the inquiry launched. "The plate you wrote started it." I kept that line in the same glove box as the plain phone, beneath the mead receipt I had never thrown away. The receipt had the diner's stamp from the day I bought the jug, a small proof that I had meant to return home with love before the trap closed. The lake in Verdon, where Theo planned the staged ending, is now visible from the refuge windows, its water calm, where once a body was meant to float with a letter in hand. I visited the shelter on its opening day and sat with a woman who had fled a similar scheme in a neighbouring county. She told me she had heard of the Pell Root Fund on a community board and found the courage to name her employer. We drank tea on the balcony Theo had called a healing place, and I felt the cold rage soften to a quiet watch. The court order freezing the reader account had preserved enough Lindqvist funds to pay the staff who remained through the trial, and the sale to the rival included a clause that kept the Tanner lab open, the tractor where my father started now a plaque on the wall. I placed Pell's ferry ticket beside that plaque in a frame, a small monument to the truth delivered unheard until too late. One evening in the new year, I drove the Maple Drive and stopped at the side gate, now fitted with a lock only I command. A silver of moon lit the spot where Nora had stood with the wax envelope, and I thought of the red blink on Theo's table, the bitter almonds in the cup, the cut blade in the slot. None of those objects remain in my hands. They are evidence in a vault. What remains is the plain phone, the diner receipt, and the resolve Pell's whisper first sparked. I do not lock my bedroom door, but I do lock the gate. The wardens who broke the cabin door send me a yearly note of the date, and I answer with a line from the recording, "The water plan is here." They laugh, and so do I, a sound that would have seemed impossible on the Wednesday I texted Theo from Port Sorin. The fund named for Pell has since backed 9 workers in 3 states, and one of them produced a parking stub from a garage in Newford that matched a guest log at Nora's block, closing a side case the wardens had left cold. Bram Hoke took that stub and framed it in his Hartwell office next to the license scan, and he tells new clients the story of the woman who noted a plate and kept a receipt. I've spoken at 2 gatherings of the refuge, never long, always ending with the words, "Pell used by the root seller. If he comes back, call this." The number she gave was disconnected years ago, but the Pell Root Fund is its living answer. I still drive past the mead hall in town where the owner nodded me in, and I buy a jug each autumn, not the 2003 but the current year, and give it to the shelter kitchen. The sweets Theo liked sit in a jar on my new desk, a reminder of the small things that mask the large traps. The pin Nora wore is returned to my case, its silver cleaned, and I wear it only to the fund's annual dinner, where Pell's name is read first. The safe in the estate is now empty, its door removed and hung on the wall as a frame for the court's closing order. The east balcony papers long blew away, and the maple has grown enough to hide the drive from the road, so no blue wagon can wait unseen. On the trial's last day, as the wardens led Theo and Nora out, Nora turned and met my eyes with no shame, only a cold mirror of the resolve I had become. I did not look away. The red light of the recording was long off, but the words remained in the vault and in me. Theo's last words to the court were a claim that he loved me still. A line Bram said was lifted from the forged goodbye. The judge called it a final theft of truth. I walked from the chamber and stood in the rain without a coat, the same rain that had filled the roads on the day I drove home with mead and sweets, and I let it fall until the chill matched the rage and washed it clean. The refuge in Verdun now teaches a class on spotting the signs Pell saw, and I wrote the opening leaflet, naming the side gate, the second glass, the cut blade as the small tells. The class uses the diary pages from Nora's drawer as a caution, not a script. The Hartwell firm's closed door is a diner now, and I sometimes sit there with Bram, who orders the cold drink and watches the lot for blue cars out of habit. We do not speak of the verdict often. We speak of the plate, the stub, the receipt, the ordinary things that carried the truth when the polished facade lied. The maple drive in Brindle Creek is ploughed by a local boy who found the cut blade in the snow the winter after the trial and gave it to the wardens. He now tends the grounds for the fund and keeps the gate locked at my word. Pell visited once and stood at the root cellar where she had cornered me, and she said only, "The envelope was always a document." I agreed, and we left the door open behind us as I now leave my bedroom door, unlatched against the dark that once entered by the side gate. The plain phone in my glove box has a single number stored, Bram's, and I test it each month, though the line is silent. The diner receipt from the day of the mead is faded but legible, a small proof that love drove home before the trap, and that the trap failed because a groundskeeper whispered and a woman wrote a plate. I have no husband, no estate staff turning over, no reader account in my name. I have the Pell Root Fund, the refuge, the plaque of the tractor, and the quiet watch that replaced the rage. The story of the dark-haired guest and the burned log is now a case study in the senator's inquiry, cited as the moment a shell firm's trail met a groundskeeper's stub. I am named only as the heir who walked out and turned back with a recording. That is the name I keep. The maple sheds, the lake rests, the gate locks, and the phone stays charged, for the truth is not just worse than the lie, it is the only edge that held when the floor broke under me on the Wednesday I came home early.